Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at how you can maximize the real estate of your screen and thereby reducing the cognitive load for your students. So on my example here, I'm going to be using Google Slides, but the principles that I'm using can be applied elsewhere, because often in teaching what we're doing is we're presenting our screen for our students to look at, and when we're doing so we want to make sure there's not distractions for them, unnecessary content and things like that that will detract from what we want them to pay attention to. So in Google Slides, I've just started with an example here. I've got my slide and there's some design elements here that really are just unnecessary. So I could change it. Now in Google Slides, there's some really basic options, but I don't have to go that basic. I could go and add a bit of design work in there. So the other thing is, when I'm looking at font sizes, for example, don't be afraid to maximize these a little bit so that they're a decent size so that people are really aware of what they're looking for. Obviously, we're not really going into slide design today, but more about other things that are on your screen. So as you look at my screen, there's a lot of distraction. So let's have a look at what we can do to reduce this. So first of all, I'm just going to shut down my themes window, the panel there. I've got speaker notes down the bottom. If I'm not using this, I can drag this bar down to the bottom to minimize that. On the left hand side, I've got my thumbnails of my slides. I can then click hide film strip and that will disappear there as well. On the right hand side, I've got this panel from Google, and again I can hide that panel, the side panel. So now the bottom of my screen is looking a lot clearer. Let's have a focus on the top of the screen. So within most Google products like this, you can see you've got your toolbar and you've got your menus bar, and there is an option here to hide the menus. So if I click here, hide the menus, and that's then reduce those options. Obviously in Google Slides I could present and then I've hidden all of these things. So I'm showing you what you might want to do for when you're not presenting, or if you're doing this in other tools as well where you don't have a presentation mode. So other things I've got here, I've got my read and write toolbar, so I could close that down if I'm not using it. And then I'm looking at the top. So what you can do if you're on a Windows device, which I'm on today, I'm going to do my F11, which for me is function F11. And again, that makes it full screen mode, and a lot of this is reduced. So I'm still in my editable state of Google Slides, but it's in full screen mode and I've reduced so much other distractions. If you're on a Chromebook, there is a key, it's above the 5 key. I'll show a little image of it now, and you'll be able to click that, and that also goes into full screen mode. If you don't want to do that, at the top here you can see I've got lots of tabs open. Even that can be a distraction for some people. Bear in mind, I can just drag this tab out and then it's on its own. So other people can't see what other tabs I've got open, so they're not a distraction for them as well. You can hide your bookmarks bar as well. Now in our domain, it's actually fixed, so I can't actually turn it off, but if you haven't got that in your domain, you can do Control Shift and B, or go in here and turn that off to remove the bookmarks toolbar as well. So there's a number of different things you can do. One other thing you can do is to zoom. On a Windows device, if I hold down Control and then use the minus or plus keys, so if I do minus, it zooms out, where it's actually making my main content bigger, or I can zoom in. So at times this might be really helpful in showing something. So if you're on a web page, this zooming in might make the readability of that page on a screen a lot easier. If you do need to reset it, you do Control 0. If you're on a Chromebook, you can also do Control Shift plus and minus, and this zooms in the top section and not just the web page section as well. Obviously, bearing in mind all this is on Chrome that I'm doing. Just to show you another example of what you can do, so if I'm going to go into my Google Doc. So often on the Google Doc you'll see something like this on the side. So again, it's a simple principle. Let's minimize unnecessary distraction. Let's minimize my toolbars, and then going into full screen mode. Again, even therefore on a Google Doc, it basically puts it into a form of presentation mode. So I hope these tips have been helpful in maximizing the real estate of your screen and therefore reducing the cognitive load for your students.